Hi and welcome to this short video for my IGCSE review. Now, while we can't be at school, I try to do this from home, and today I'm going to talk about acid rain, which is in 21.3 in the syllabus. And in your book here, it is in page 302 to 303. And I will try to do this a little different today, where I mainly will try to talk over PowerPoint slides to present you the different facts about acid rain. So please stick with me as we try this today. Hi. So, acid rain mainly comes from the burning of fossil fuels, but it can also come from like large forest fires and volcanic eruptions. But the main cause is the burning of fossil fuels, because when we burn fossil fuels, especially coal and oil, release a lot of sulfur, which combines to sulfur oxides in the air. In combustion engines, cars, planes, so on, at a high temperature, nitrogen starts to react with oxygen, and then they form nitrogen oxides. And those are our two major causes of acid rain. Sulfur dioxide in itself is a problem. It's a quite reactive chemical, and if we get it down our airways and lungs, it can irritate the lungs, cause people to cough. And while it might not be a problem for a healthy person, if you already have asthma, bronchitis or other lung issues, this can lead to illness. We see this in cities with high air pollution, that asthma, bronchitis, diseases like that are more prominent and they're more serious. Sulfur dioxide in itself can also damage plants. It can damage the leaves, and in high concentrations it can be toxic to plants. The good thing is it's quite easy for factories to remove it from their smokestacks, as we'll talk about later. So when we talk about acid rain, we have to talk about how acid is acid rain then. Normally distilled water have a pH of 7, but clean rainwater has a pH that's slightly acidic, normally around 5.6. Acid rain can be lower, 4.3 or even lower. This happens because sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides react with water in the clouds to form sulfuric acids and other acids. And then when the rainwater falls down, these acids, ions, will still be in the rainwater, and it will fall down with a lower pH than we'll normally see from rainwater. So how can acid rain then damage nature? Well, the major damage we see in the terrestrial environment is on plants. Of course, strong acid rain can damage leaves and plants directly, but we rarely see that. But in high altitude forest, we can see that the plants are quite vulnerable because they're surrounded by clouds and fogs a lot of the time. And if those clouds and fogs have a low pH, this can lead to damage to the plants. This of course can damage the plant directly, or it can leave the plant more vulnerable to attack by fungi, bacteria or insects, which we often see in big forest, when then an entire forest gets weakened and then it'll start dying. But normally what acid rain does is it affects the soil. When we have a rain with a low pH, it will wash out the positive metal ions from the soil. These ions are needed by the plants for growth, and if we have a continuous washing out of those, the plant will then be deficient in those ions. So if the plant is both affected from the outside by the acid rain or the acid fog, and the soil becomes less nutrient for it, the plants will weaken, and then insects, storms, so on will in the end could damage or destroy them. In the aquatic environment, we'll see the damage from acid rain in a quite different way. As I said before, acid rain washes out metal ions, and one of those metal ions is aluminium. In the soil, aluminium is not a problem, but when we get high concentration of aluminium in fresh water, it affects the gill of fish. It is highly toxic, especially to young fish, so we can see a big death of fish suddenly, where a lot of fish lie dead on the surface. Also, lowering the pH can affect the ecosystem. Some species are quite good at adapting to a low pH, whilst other species such as snails and clams, who have an exoskeleton made of calcium carbonate, really don't like a low pH. So we can see a direct damage from fish death, and we can see an indirect damage to the ecosystem due to a change in the species who can survive there. This is something we have seen earlier, that we see this fish death due to acid rain, and it was one of the things that made this problem real to people, that you suddenly saw dead fish on the surface. So how do we prevent acid rain? Well, a lot has already been done in Europe. Acid rain was a problem here in the 80s, but now we have really done a lot to deal with it. One is, of course, to use less coal power. Coal for electric power is one of the major pollutants who lead to acid rain. Another way is to use cleaner coal burning, where we have what we call a wash in the smokestack, where a lot of the acid is taken out of the smoke before it is released. This is quite simple. And it also has the added benefit that the acid taken from the smokestack, like sulfuric acid, can be used for industrial production. So instead of releasing the acid into the environment, we actually take it out of the smoke and use it for industrial production, which is a win-win situation. With cars, we see a move towards cleaner cars, where they have filters and catalysts, so they release less nitrogen oxide. And especially with the move toward electric cars, we also see a lot less air pollution there. All of this will help to combat acid rain. Another thing which you might be able to see from this is a lot of the things we do to stop global warming will also reduce acid rain. Using wind power and solar power instead of coal power will also reduce acid rain a lot. So, to recap this. Acid rain starts with the release of sulfur and nitrogen oxides from traffic and from burning of fossil fuels. When these gases get into the atmosphere, they will in the clouds then combine with drops of water, which then will produce acid. That acid will then rain down, and that can happen quite far away from the factory or the traffic. That rain can affect plants through direct damage or through the washing out of the ions they need for growth, and it can then affect our lakes and rivers by adding aluminium to the water, which damage the gills of fish, and by lowering the pH of water. Thanks for staying with me. The figures in this presentation I have borrowed from EPA, the American Environmental Protection Agency, and if you go to their website you can find even more information about acid rain, what it does and how to prevent it. Thank you for staying with me. I'm really looking forward to teaching you real life again, but until that, this is what we do. Have an awesome day. Thank you.